Hey everybody, welcome back. Well, the rye's dead, finally. Didn't have to reapply. Got lucky there, just had to wait a little bit longer. But it's part 3 today of the reel replacement. It's gonna get greasy, so greasy getting these reel bearing housings back together. You would swear I'm wearing leather hot pants and singing on a playground. I was also able to sneak getting the reel put back in as well. So today we have the reel bearing housing kind of rebuild and refurbishment and getting all that taken care of, as well as getting the reel put back in and those housings reattached to the cutting unit frame. So let's get to work. Everything's taken apart. You can see here the reel's out, the reel bearing houses are out. I went ahead and removed the bearings off camera because it was a whole lot of just banging them out. To put them back together, we have the left side and right side. We start with the right side, which would be the right side of the mower. You know, as you're looking forward, it'll be this side of the reel. We need to put some gloves on. The assembly of the bearing housings do vary. We have these retaining rings here, seals, wave washer, thrust washer, these little spacer bits. I have no clue what to do with those. And we have our new bearings for the reel. Now these do not come packed, so we have to do that. Okay, I'm just going to set this guy here for now while I get something to wipe some crap up with. We also need to, in these seals, add grease as well in this cavity here. Okay, throw that in there. So on this guy, I've already put, this is referred to like the outer retaining ring. It states to put that in first. And it says to have like a seal press tool, but I don't have one of those. So we're gonna see if I can do it without. And this might be where this comes in handy. And I don't know where my hammer is, so. Okay, we have that guy in. This side you want flush with that little lip there. Here's what we have there. It says there's also a bearing press tool we need for this, but we'll see how this goes. We want to focus on the outer portion and not touch the center. Okay, we have that guy there. Next up is the wave washer. That'll go in there. Followed up with the thrust washer. And now the fun part. The retaining rings. Now, can we see that there? They come apart, so it makes a little, you know, like a little spring. And that's how you put them in. I put the first one in just so I could get an idea of how to do it. And the first one was a lot easier since my fingers weren't covered in grease. But it goes in really, really easy. And we just have to make sure it gets locked in. Now we need to add more grease. And this is where the service manual said like 75 to 80%. Next up is just putting on this final seal here. Okay, the right hand side is done, fully assembled, and ready to be put back on. Everything is looking super good. With the right side done, we can now move on to the left side. This one is a little bit different. The manual does not call for any retaining rings. It just has the two seals and the bearing, which I find unusual. So again, we just pack these full of grease. And I'm sure I'm doing it wrong, and I will be told by 4,000 people that I'm doing it wrong, but I don't care. The manual states to actually put the bearing in first and line it up in between these two grooves. Those grooves are where the retaining rings would go. And then put the seals in, but that doesn't make sense to me. With the first seal in, we're gonna add some grease to this side. This will act as kind of like a cushion, and again it calls for like a 75 to 80% fill rate. And again, okay, so it's pressed in, we have the grease, goes into where it's even with the inner portion of that. Okay. Yeah, now we're getting down to business. So we have this main portion of the cutting unit. I cleaned it up a little bit. I put both pitch arms back in position. Now, a little note about these pitch arms. On newer versions, they have a brass bushing that goes inside there. Older ones don't have that. So if you see those on yours, it's just you have a newer model. So I went ahead, those are put in. I put the plow bolts on this side, the normal ones, back in to accept the real bearing housing. Since I'm doing a groomer though, I have to put these shorter ones in over here. We're putting these in first solely. These get put in first because once the reel gets put in, it's super hard to get these lower ones into place. So those are in. Now we can bring the reel over, and I have these laid here to protect it. With this in place, we can begin putting the reel bearing housings back on. Exercise extreme caution through here. These are sharp. It has to be backlapped or ground. They recommend grinding, but you can backlap it, especially if you have a new bed knife going in. Exercise extreme caution. This is super sharp. Just getting that one into position for right now. Now the pitch arms will slide over. There's actually a bushing on here that I didn't take off because I didn't need to. So once you get everything kind of lined up and started, the pitch arms go through. I'm holding on to the bolts as I push this guy in little by little. For the time being, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the reel bearing lock nut back on this side, just enough to get things aligned. Okay, those are held in place just long enough. I did swap out this longer plow bolt just to get everything lined up. Okay, with the spacer back in, everything moving freely, this will get pushed in later. If you weren't doing the groomer, you would just put your side plate back on, come over onto the other side, add your counterweight, then put your roller back on, bed bar back on, and you'd be done. The roller bearing housings are in, the reel's in, not a whole lot left to do. Coming up next though, we're diving into a groomer install. As I said towards the end there, if you're not putting a groomer back on, you're essentially finished. You just have to put that side plate back on, put the counterweight back on, get the rollers installed, then take care of getting the reel set up and sharpened. The rest of that's coming up really soon. So I hope you all enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you soon.